Okay, so you know that feeling when you open your cloud bill and it's
Yeah.
way higher than you expected.
Yeah.
It's like, did we accidentally invent time travel in there or something?
Happens all the time. Cloud costs, they can get away from you if you're not super careful.
No kidding. But okay, imagine this. What if we could take that runaway train, turn it into like a high-speed rail line, but instead of going off the rails, it's taking us straight to, I don't know, Value City.
Okay.
That's where FinOps comes in. And for this deep dive, we're becoming engineers for a bit, really digging into one of the most important parts, the thing that can make or break your whole cloud strategy,
Okay.
optimizing how you use your cloud and what it costs.
Yeah, and it's bigger than just saving a little money here and there. It's really about changing how you think about the cloud completely.
Oh, wow.
Impacts everything from how you design your systems all the way to how your teams work every single day.
So, like, it's the difference between just throwing ingredients together versus following, like, a Michelin star recipe, right?
Yeah, it's about being intentional and understanding what happens when you make a decision. Because if you use the cloud inefficiently, you're not just losing money, you're slowing down your team, maybe even hurting the environment without realizing it.
Okay, now I'm really interested. So how do we go from this, like, cloud chaos to having control?
You have to embrace what FinOps is really about.
Okay.
Taking charge of how you use the cloud, working together across teams, and the biggest thing, letting business value, what you actually get out of it, drive every choice.
So it's not just on the tech team to figure out how to be more efficient by themselves. Everyone has to be on the same page, working toward the same goal.
Exactly. And when we talk about making your cloud work better and costing less, it's not a one-time fix. It's constantly getting better, refining how you use the cloud to get what your business needs.
So instead of a quick trip to the mechanic, it's more like a regular workout routine for all your cloud stuff.
You got it. Just like working out, if you want results, you got to keep at it.
Makes sense.
Even small things, if you're not efficient, they add up over time. That's money and resources wasted.
So where do we even begin with all this? Cloud optimization sounds kind of intimidating, to be honest.
The best place to start, you got to understand the important parts of what's called the optimized cloud usage and cost domain.
Okay.
So think of architecting for cloud like laying a strong foundation.
Got it.
If you get it right from the start, you save yourself a lot of headaches and costs down the line.
It's way easier to build a strong house from the ground up than try to fix a shaky foundation later, that's for sure.
Exactly. Then there's workload optimization, making sure you're only using the cloud resources you actually need.
Oh, okay, got it.
It's like turning off the lights when you leave a room, but for your whole cloud setup.
So no more leaving the digital lights on and draining our budget. Makes sense. And then there's this whole cloud sustainability thing. I'll be honest, I haven't thought about that much before.
It's getting more important all the time, though. It's easy to forget the cloud, it runs on giant data centers, which use a ton of energy, and a lot of that still comes from fossil fuels.
Okay.
So every time we use a server we don't need, or we leave something running when we shouldn't be,
Oh, adding to that, yeah.
we are. But here's the good news.
If we do things right in the cloud, we can actually help the environment too, right?
Yeah. By using the cloud smarter, we use less energy, which means a smaller carbon footprint.
That's awesome. So it's not just saving money, being more efficient. We can actually make a real difference for the planet just by being smarter about our cloud use.
Exactly. And it's not just about being like altruistic or whatever. Companies, they're starting to make sustainability a core part of how they do business, you know?
Yeah.
It's good for the environment and it can actually save them money. Plus, customers really like it.
That's what I call a win-win-win.
Mhm.
You're saving money, being more efficient, and making the world a little greener.
Hmm.
But how do we actually put all this into practice? It seems kind of overwhelming.
That's the million-dollar question right there. But the good news is you don't have to become a cloud expert overnight to make a difference. It's more about taking it one step at a time.
Okay, I like that.
Like even finding just one area where you're using way more cloud resources than you need, that's a huge win. You know, like that development server that just sits there most of the day?
Uh-huh.
Just schedule it to turn off when no one's using it.
Like turning off the lights when you leave a room, but for your servers.
Exactly. And these days, most cloud providers, they have these built-in cost management tools. They can look at how you're using things and point out areas where you can save.
Oh, you mean like those reports and emails they're always sending? I'll admit I don't always read those as closely as I probably should.
Honestly, those are super helpful. Think
Yeah.
about it. It's in their best interest to help you use their platform efficiently, right?
That's true.
Plus, a lot of them have features that will automatically optimize things for you.
Okay, so it's not like you have to manually tweak everything all the time. You can set it and forget it.
Pretty much. And all this stuff we're talking about, it's not just for big companies. It doesn't matter if you're a small startup or a giant corporation. These principles, they all apply.
Right.
In
Yeah.
fact, understanding this stuff, it can give you a real edge, especially if you're looking for a new job in tech.
Shows you're not just thinking about code, but also about how to use technology to help the business and do it sustainably, which is huge these days.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's about using the right tools for the job and not just going with the cheapest option.
So we're talking about architecting for cloud. What does that actually look like in real life?
It's kind of like, I don't know, designing and building a skyscraper, but in the cloud.
Okay, I like that analogy.
You wouldn't just start building a skyscraper without a really detailed blueprint, right?
Right.
Architecting for the cloud is about making those critical decisions before you write a single line of code. Like, are you going to use virtual machines, containers, or maybe go serverless?
Okay,
Each one of those has a huge impact on cost.
got it. So it's not about just sticking with what you know, it's about picking the best tool for the job from the beginning.
Exactly. For example, let's say you want to build an image resizing service for your website. If you built that using virtual machines, you're basically renting a whole computer, even if it's just resizing one tiny little image at a time.
That seems inefficient.
Right. But with serverless, you only pay for the exact milliseconds it takes to process that image, which, if you're dealing with traffic that goes up and down a lot, can save you a ton of money.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about it like that. It's
Yeah.
like the difference between renting a car for a whole day versus using a ride-sharing app and just paying for the minutes you use it.
Exactly. You're matching what you're using in the cloud to what you actually need at that moment. Which brings us perfectly to, remember those digital lights we were talking about leaving on?
Oh yeah, how could I forget?
Workload optimization, it's all about making sure those lights are only on when they absolutely need to be. Scaling your resources up or down based on the actual demand.
So if your website is getting slammed with traffic because you're having a big sale, your cloud resources should scale up automatically to handle it.
Right.
And then when things calm down, they scale back down so you're not paying for all that extra capacity you don't need.
Exactly. It's all about being smart and dynamic with how you allocate resources. And the best part is, there are so many great tools and automation features these days that can take care of a lot of this for you.
Okay, so it's not just about staring at dashboards all day and manually tweaking things.
Not at all. It's about working smarter, not harder, by using technology to do the heavy lifting for you.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears a bit here and talk about something that I think is super important, this whole cloud sustainability thing.
Yes. It's not just about saving money. It's about making sure we're being responsible with how we use technology.
Totally. I'll admit it's something that I'm still learning about.
It's easy to forget that all this cloud stuff, it relies on these massive data centers. And those data centers use a ton of energy.
That makes sense.
But a lot of that energy, unfortunately, it still comes from fossil fuels.
So every time we spin up a server that we don't really need, or we accidentally leave something running overnight,
Right.
we're kind of contributing to that, huh?
We are. But here's the really cool part. The flip side of that is, when we're smarter about our cloud use, we can really cut down on how much energy we're using. And that means a smaller carbon footprint, which is good for everyone.
So it's like a double win. We save money, A&D help the planet at the same time. That's awesome. But how do we actually make it happen? I mean, where do we even begin?
Well, you don't have to do everything at once. Even just finding one thing you're doing that's wasteful and fixing it, that's a great start.
Okay, I like that. Small steps. What's a good example?
Think about how you're handling your development servers. Let's say you've got one that's only being used for a couple hours a day.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of just letting it run all the time, why not schedule it to shut down when nobody's using it?
Oh, so like putting it to sleep when we're done with it for the day.
Exactly. It's a simple change, but it can make a big difference in the long run.
Makes sense. So it's about being more mindful of what we're actually using and when.
Precisely. And the good news is, most cloud providers these days have tools built right in that can help you track all of this. They can look at how you're using their services and tell you where you might be able to save some money.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen some of those reports before, but I'll admit, I haven't always paid that much attention to them. Are they really helpful?
Oh, they can be super helpful. And it makes sense if you think about it. The cloud provider wants you to be as efficient as possible, too, because that means you're more likely to stick around as a customer.
Right. It's good for both of us. So it's kind of like having a cloud cost advisor built right in.
Exactly. And a lot of them even have features that can automate some of this optimization for you, so you don't have to spend all your time fiddling with settings.
Okay, so we're not talking about like manually tweaking every little thing all day long.
Yeah.
More like setting some things up
Mhm.
and letting the cloud do its thing.
Exactly. And all of this stuff we've been talking about, it applies whether you're a small startup or a huge corporation.
So it's not just for the big guys.
Not at all. In fact, if you're someone who's working in tech or looking for a new job in the field, understanding these concepts can give you a real advantage.
You're saying it shows you're thinking beyond just writing code. It shows you understand the bigger picture.
Exactly. It shows you're thinking about how technology impacts a business's bottom line and how to use it in a way that's sustainable. And those are super valuable skills these days.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, it sounds like we've learned that FinOps is about so much more than just trying to save a few bucks here and there. It's about making smarter decisions, being more efficient, and even having a positive impact on the environment.
Exactly. It's about getting the most out of the cloud in a way that's both financially and environmentally responsible.
I love it. Well, on that note, I'm going to leave our listeners with something to think about. Imagine you had a magic wand and you could snap your fingers and instantly change one thing about how your organization uses the cloud. What would you change to make it more efficient, more cost-effective, and more sustainable? Something to ponder until next time. This deep dive into the world of FinOps and cloud optimization is just the beginning. We encourage you to keep exploring this fascinating topic. Thanks for joining us, and happy optimizing.